You are listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast, a podcast by diehard fans for fans. Mark covers all things Penn State football and the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as anything related to the sports and fitness world. Tune in weekly to listen to a couple of dedicated fans talk about these topics without filters. Thank you for listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast.
What's up, Steeler Nation? Welcome to the Mark Lesko Podcast. I'm your host, J-Rod, and this is Steelers Central. What do you think, guys? I think I'm good to go with my decor. I'm digging it. I think it's great that Pirates represented, Steelers represented, and then Penn State. I'm super pumped, guys. I am ready to go for this season. So let's get right into this. We're going to do our final overall thoughts on the offseason. What we saw from the last 4 or 5 months between spring training, between mini camps and preseason and all that stuff. So it all started, I believe, sometime in March when they made the announcement that DK Metcalf was coming to the Steelers on a 5-year, $150 million deal. I think everybody that is a Steelers fan probably went, could not believe it. I mean, it was absolutely one of the craziest things you could pretty much expect. I had that feeling last year when Russ came to the Steelers, and I thought he was going to bring DK with him, and everyone was like, no way, they can't afford him. They would have to back the truck up for the guy. Well, they did this year. But Omar Khan and that organization, guys, I mean, just another gem of a performance for that guy between the draft and what he has done for the off season and for the picks and all that stuff. Like, just great. There's no more adjectives to describe Omar Khan other than he's great. He's wonderful. He is absolutely the GM that we need to make us at least competitive and always look relevant. And then, of course, you had the deal with Aaron Rodgers that, went on quite some time. I mean, it was forever. And we finally had that deal go down. And then, I think it was before that, though, with Aaron Rodgers. But then you had George Pickens get traded to the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, that definitely threw me for a loop as a fan. I mean, I know that I was hearing the rumbling that, he's not a great team guy and they wanted to move off him. That doesn't surprise me at all. You've seen his antics, and they tried. They tried for at least 2 seasons to get him to where he needed to be a WR1. But honestly, this is just me talking. I just always felt that George Pickens was a WR2 guy. I just always thought that. He saw himself as a WR1. Yeah, he's crazy talented with the catches and everything. That the stature and just the overall presence just felt like a WR2. That is how I looked at that. And obviously that's how the Steelers saw it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have traded him away. I mean, I know once Metcalf was brought in, that Pickens probably chirped and said about, like, I'm the WR1. What are you doing getting with him? It's like, no, you should have been a complimentary WR2. Had he had no problems and we had the combination of Metcalf and Pickens, that would have been probably the most lethal duo. But the attitudes come with players sometimes, and he obviously did not want to be a part of the future. So they had no choice but to get rid of him. So that happened, and then Aaron Rodgers showed up, which everyone, we had a lot of on the fences, and of course I did too. I knew what he was coming into the offseason, and we did not see that happen. And I'm so pleasantly surprised and happy to see that we do not have the bad version of Aaron Rodgers yet. I mean, we haven't seen it yet, and the season hasn't mattered yet. So the whole offseason, we watched like the back and forth of why he should or why he shouldn't, and it all happened, and I knew how I felt. But as the training camps and the preseason went on, I mean, it's been pretty much smooth sailing so far. I mean, we haven't seen any of the uproar. We haven't seen the diva attitude that we had seen from him the last several years. But that does bring a lot of comfort and it brings a lot of positivity. I mean, we certainly have ourselves a great chance to be competitive and be something maybe for the playoffs, because when you have Aaron Rodgers, a former 4-time MVP, and the guy who's arguably the greatest of this century to play this game in that position, I mean, it's apparent that the Steelers needed somebody like him because we haven't had someone like him for quite some time. So it's definitely an important move, and I applaud them for making it, despite a lot of the probably feedback they got. And I can't say that I'm not waiting for it, but it's just it's still a possibility for it to happen, to see that other side of them. But so far, so good. And then I think the biggest surprise, and again, even bigger probably than the DK Metcalf trade, Minkah Fitzpatrick goes to the Dolphins for Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. Those types of moves never happen for Pittsburgh. It is one thing for them to make big splashy, sometimes they don't pay their players, but they did for DK. I mean, that is a big surprise. But, man, the return for Minkah is just – it was unbelievable. I'm still in shock that not only did they address one side of the for the defense, but they took care of the other side. They actually answered both sides of the ball, and that normally doesn't happen. Where Fitzpatrick's going to the Dolphins, I'm sure they're happy about that, and he was always a great player for us. And then you get the other side, everyone's winning. Like, I think it's a pretty cool deal when everybody comes out feeling like a winner. So those moves, again, you just can't say more enough than Omar Khan, with maybe the exception of we didn't address the WR2. I mean, we did try. We did have some guys come in for some interviews and, meetings, and nothing came about. No one signed. And you got the inconsistencies of, is Roman Wilson going to be a factor? Are you going to use him? Calvin Austin, how long is it going to take for him to be healthy again? It's definitely something to keep an eye on. A lot of big questions, especially with the WR2 situation. But other than that, they did address quite a few things. The only other off-season stuff that you got to wrap your head around is that at one point Cam held out, at one point Chris Boswell held out. So you had two of your prolific players, one on defense, one on offense, and now it seems like they're kind of not backing down, but they are aware that doing the hold in or just holding out is not going to be in the best interest to, do anything for the Steelers for the season. They know that they need to make something happen, but they have to also make something happen to make something happen. I mean, that's really what the situation is. They're talking about making more money, and at their ages, I know Chris should be about 30, 32. I know he's been in this organization for quite some time, and of course Cam is 36, going to be 37 soon. Those are things you can't really gamble on if you are the financial side of it whole. I mean, yes, they both have proven themselves to be the most important players and people to play their positions, for sure, for the Steelers. So I personally would not have minded if they, gave in and gave them the money, but no, they're treating it as if you got to prove it in order for you to have it. So it was definitely a tough thing to witness, because you don't ever want to see your most important players like that having the problems they're having. And yeah, you are entitled to know how you feel, and I totally get where they're coming from, especially from Boswell's perspective. I mean, yes, Cam Hayward has been playing his butt off the last 3 years straight. I mean, he's getting older, but he still goes out and produces. He constantly is, putting up 8, 10, 12 plus sacks a season. He is absolutely everything the Steelers mold themselves after. Like, he's the prolific Steelers for sure. So I can understand it from both sides. It's definitely not something you want to see occur, but yeah, sometimes you have to, as a fan, go through these types of situations. So I'm very much in favor of them realizing that the lockout needs that they didn't hold out anymore, so they're ready to, go in and participate. They're ready to do things for this organization. And yeah, it's been an impressive offseason all over the place with the emotions up and down. And it all comes down to this, where, yes, in the preseason, you had a 2-1 record. You had a huge offensive explosion in the first game against Jacksonville. You laid a complete dud against the Bucs, and you laid a complete dud against the Panthers, but you still had the 2 wins. Does it amount to anything? Of course not. We already covered that in the last video, where it's like, no, preseason games just do not matter. It's just really about them going out there and trying to get their footing, just be out there and do certain drills and get back into the motion of the game. So I don't put any stock into what the preseason gives you. You can't really base it a whole lot. I mean, yeah, you want to see some explosive plays here and there, but it won't amount to anything because, again, it's their backups. It's not like an actual, they're not going to put any meaning towards it. That's really what this all culminates to. So I think that this was a pretty crazy offseason, and I very much appreciate everybody that was involved that made it as positive as they can, and where they're at kind of as a team. Like, I think that they're ready for the season. We're ready for the season, so we're ready to get going, folks. I mean, I can honestly say that in the last several seasons, yes, we've always felt that we can make the playoffs. We've always felt we could be a winning team, but this year is actually a different story. It feels like everybody is ready to go, and both sides have a lot to, say they've got a good chance of doing something. I mean, could we be be realistic and say, can we be somewhere between a top 10 or top 15? Like, if we could be between 10 and 15 on offense and be, 5 to 10 on defense, absolutely. In both cases, for sure. But the season has to play out. So there is my kickoff topic, and we're going to move into the halftime, which is looking at the AFC North outlook as a whole. So let's move right into the schedules for everybody. So let's start off with that wonderful Cleveland Browns team. Here, let me adjust. Here, yeah, much better. So look at this. This is crazy. You are looking at the first 6 weeks. They are home for the Bengals, and then they are at Baltimore. Then they're home for the Packers, but they are at Detroit. And then they are home for the Vikings, and then they are at us. Wow. That is a gauntlet of a 6-week stretch. Woo! I mean, what? You're looking at maybe the Bengals being the only team, and everybody else should pretty much be a winning record team. And they have some of the best defenses or offenses in every cat. Like, goodness gracious, that is a tough way to start. Again, that easily is a 1-5, 0-6 start, and they could be out of the conversation right then and there. So I do predict in my predictions I've made, I think I have us sweeping Cleveland this year. So that's what it's going to look like there. But yeah, that's the genuine outlook for the Cleveland Browns. And even if they were to win a couple games here and there, I mean, the overall outlook, I mean, they could be a 5-12, 4-13 team. I mean, this is a pretty rough looking schedule because, again, even after that 6-game stretch, it doesn't get any better. I mean, the Dolphins are not going to be an easy team. The Patriots are up and coming. They might have a chance against a team like that. The Jets, they're kind of in that same boat as the Browns because they just do not handle themselves correctly as an organization. So the Jets and the Browns kind of feel like they're in the same situation. They play the Raiders, they play the Titans, they have the Bears, and a 49ers team. I'd like to think the 49ers are going to kind of be either 500 or above. So, yeah, this schedule is brutal. So I cannot imagine, again, as a team that's like Cleveland, where you're constantly always out of the conversation, but that schedule and the situations they have right now, this is just going to be a rough season for the Cleveland Browns. So then you have, with the next set of schedules, I think it's the Cincinnati Bengals I have next. Yep, there they are. So the Cincinnati Bengals schedule, I mean, it's kind of right there in the middle for them. So they play the Browns, and then they have Jaguars, which should be a pretty good win for them. The Vikings at home, they're away for the Vikings, and they're also at Denver, but they come home for the Lions, and then they go to the Packers. I mean, again, looking at the first couple of 6 games or so, that right there looks like that could be a 500 record. They could go 3-3 in that whole scenario. I mean, after that, you've got us twice, and then the Ravens and Bills. Like, I'm not saying they know how to play against them, but that's going to be a pretty rough one too. And I feel like the overall look for the Cincinnati Bengals this year, I mean, Burrows and Chase and Boyd, like they've got themselves, or no, wait, who's the other? Is it Tyler Boyd? I believe it is. I'm not. Oh, what is the other guy's name? The other wide receiver. I know it's Jamar Chase and the other guy. I love when I blank on names. But yeah, they've got weapons, but they also have issues with Trey Hendrickson. Again, there hasn't been any reports that he has been traded or going to be, but still having those types of issues, it doesn't make you, it doesn't make you feel good about what's to come, especially for a team like Cincinnati, who was in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and they struggled to keep the other side happy, or if they pay too much on one side, they put all of it in one and then nothing on the other. Like that, you can't run an organization like that and expect it to kind of be a competitive team. I mean, I think at the best, the Bengals could look 10-7, and I'll even stretch it maybe 11-6, maybe. But that's about as high as I can give that team. Yeah, that's what you got. So, and then let's move on finally to the final team, where they should actually have a competitive schedule or chance of winning. So you have, with the Baltimore Ravens' schedule, they start out at Buffalo, and then they come home for the Browns, and then they're home for the Lions, and then they're at the Chiefs, and then Texans, and then finally they're home for the Rams. I mean, yeah, that's a 3-3, 500 record too. I mean, or 4-2 at the worst. Like, the Baltimore Ravens are always going to be with us in that category of, like, we both have organizations that just collectively get you ready for the season. And defensively, you never worry about the Ravens. And offensively, they have finally gotten things clicking with Lamar. That started, like, last season or 2 seasons ago, that he finally has emerged as a reliable throwing quarterback. And I just always remember saying about how he was a running quarterback. He didn't have a whole lot going for him, but they constantly keep putting themselves in the conversation because John Harbaugh is a great coach. The organization knows how to get these guys. They have great systems like drafting, everything. So they're ready. And again, I predicted that the Steelers are going to be 12-5, but then you look at this whole schedule for the Ravens. Again, this could very well be something of that nature too. They could have a 12-5 record, and it could be even better. It could be 13-4, 14-3 at the best. I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, they're 17-0. No, they've got some losses in this season, but they could take this division from us. And if that's the case, like I said, we have a 12-5 record coming. Do I think the Ravens have a better chance of having a better schedule or record than that? Yeah, I do. So I guess what I'm saying is the Ravens will win this division just from the look of the schedule and how it looks for the Steelers going, from my prediction, 12-5. But it should not be that much better. Like, they should be a 13-4, 14-3 team. So, yeah, the Ravens looks like they're going to win this division, but we should be a wild card team for sure going into this season. Well, there's the overall look for it. But for my final 2 minutes, or my 2-minute warning, again, knowing what this whole season is going to be, what we anticipate, yeah, it's definitely like when we started out this post the beginning of the season, off season, we looked at ourselves and went, I don't know how we're going to be able to compete if we're not going to be able to. We've acquired Mason Rudolph, and we're like, yeah, we love the guy. Like, he's always been a part of the organization. He never got a fair shot. He looked as good as he ever did when he was here last time. And it was like, but that's not enough. We know that's not enough. And as much as we want to believe in Mason, we did draft Will Howard, and everyone loves the guy. But here we are with him, and he's already injured. It's like, great. So that's a great start to your career. And yeah, so once Aaron Rodgers came into the conversation and getting all the guys we did, I mean, it makes us definitely in the conversation to be a playoff team or win one for this side of the AFC. So for next week, I am going to be doing my full scope of the NFL's season, in the sense, like, I'll give like predictions, who I think is going to win each division, and then I'm going to kind of give like a playoff prediction and see where we stand for the whole thing. So that's my look at everything. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. I always enjoy doing this for you guys. And as always, we are going to look forward to these next couple of weeks. We are less than 2 weeks away, guys. I'm going to be back on next week for that preseason prediction. And then after that, it's the actual season. It's the game one against the Jets. I'm definitely looking forward to it, guys. So without further ado, here we go, Steelers. And I will see you guys next time.